out. And Dr. Happy, glad that you're here this evening um,
Uh,
for your part two.
yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be back. And I hope everybody has stayed well since I spoke last. And I look forward to us having a pretty good, um, a pretty good understanding of what this is we're going to talk about this evening. And what we are going to talk about is grounding. And people have different understandings of grounding. And I'm going to bring some clarity to it this evening so that we really understand how grounding, how it affects us, how it pertains to us, and how we need to do it. I'm going to start out. Can you see my screen yet? Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay, so just a moment. Let's see. Mm, okay, I think this might bring it in. Can one see it now?
Yes.
Okay, is this large enough for everyone to see? Let me make it a little bigger. How is that?
Oh, much better. Ooh,
All right.
yeah.
So, the purpose of this seminar is to give us a greater understanding of grounding as it relates to the different areas that is utilized. And the purpose of this seminar is to help us explore the principles of grounding within its applications and within the techniques that we can use in order to help it serve our health. Now, grounding relates to this movement of energy. It relates to the movement of energy and how it affects us in three different areas. So in grounding, they speak of it as creating a stable foundation. And 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 when we look at it in relationship to electricity, grounding helps the person to not get electrocuted. So there would not be electricity without grounding. Grounding at any building, they stick a rod in the ground, they attach a wire to it, and they connect that to your box when they bring electricity into your house. And it is that ground that the electricity go to, so there is not a surge of electricity that could possibly damage you or your equipment. I'm sure all of you all have a power cord that you put um, your cords in from your computers and cell phones, what have you, so that if there's a power surge, it don't blow out your computer, it don't blow out your cell phone, it don't blow out your TV or your musical equipment, and that it doesn't cause a surge to cause a fire in your house. So we're going to be talking about the aspects of grounding as it relates to the various disciplines. Now, these disciplines are engineering, psychology, and spiritual and mindfulness practices. Now, within it, engineering, we're looking at safety and we're looking at functionality in electrical systems. And in Chicago and the rest of the world, there could be electrical fire because a heater in the winter wasn't connected to a power cord that would catch that surge when that electrical meter is turned all the way up. And there's so much power that it goes to the cord, it starts the fire in the cord, the fire goes into the wall, and now you got a fire, electrical fire in your house that came from the heater. I'm sure some of you all have heard of these fires that happen in the house, burn people's house down. The people die in the house from the heater in the winter that was putting out so much power that it caused an electrical fire. I'm sure you all have heard of that. So in the engineering they created a power cord for one to put the cord in so that that particular surge of power would not go into the electrical wire and create a fire in the house. Now, the second level of grounding is in psychology. This is grounding individuals to help them help them stay present. We call it mindfulness, and to manage stress. Because when you see people who are manic depressant, people who are schizophrenic, people who can't focus, people in school, young people in school who are labeled ADHD and who has to take Ritalin in order to focus their mind. They're in special ed in schools. Those children, the youth, they're not grounded. They've lost the ability to hold focus. And so in grounding, we teach them how to hold focus so they could come out of special ed and become an excellent student. We also teach it in helping them to manage stress, because the people who are manic depressant, I'm sure some of you all have heard of Jesse Jackson. His son was manic depressant. His son was a politician. He was a congressman. And then because he could not stay grounded, he got into trouble. I'm sure all of you all remember that incident, in which now he's not even into politics because that was a mental condition that came about because he could not hold himself and manage his stress. And then in spiritual and mindful practices, grounding connects individuals to their environment and increases their self-awareness of themselves and their state of health. How well can they feel? How well can they relieve the anxiety that working with electrical equipment like computers and cell phones could cause to create an imbalance in our electrical field and cause us to gain anxiety. So this grounding is very important, but most of us have not heard of it. Now, in our last lecture, Sister Kristen asked, did you all know about grounding? And with that, we were looking at primarily going outside, taking your shoes off, rubbing your feet against the grass, and creating an electrical field in your body to bring more energy in your body. Now, we're going to go into the depths of this somewhat today so that you really gather and grasp an understanding of this grounding as it relates to your wellness. Because all of you all who are using computers on cell phones, you are getting electrical charges from the computers and electrical charges from those cell phones and even from watching the TV. And what happens is that it causes an electrical imbalance in your body that can cause you to be stressed, and you don't even know that it's causing you to be stressed. It can cause you to have pain, inflammation, all of that you would not know. So we're gonna go deeper into this. So now there's someone singing in the background. Feel free to sing, but can we sing very low so that I can continue in the presentation? In grounding, as it relates to engineering and electrical, one of the things I want to share with you all is that we are electrical beings. And when we ground ourselves on the earth is actually a grounding pad for us. The sun is an electrical transmitter. The sun transmits electrical rays, or what we call solar rays, that nowadays we know they are creating panels on people's roofs, and they are able to create electricity from the solar rays of the panels and bring electricity in the house and start having more electricity where they don't have to depend on Commonwealth Edison as much for electricity. So when we are breathing, we are pulling electricity from the solar rays, which are your sun rays, which are considered solar ions, which is helping us to create electricity in our bodies through our breathing. Now, in this definition of electrical engineering, we look at the grounding is the practice of connecting this electrical current to the earth, and it acts as a safety to prevent overloads and protect us and electrical systems from burning out or creating fires. Well, in our case, it would not be creating fires as much, it would be creating loss of energy. There would be a dissipation of energy in our bodies, which could cause us to have inflammation. It could cause us to have pain in our body. It could cause us not to sleep well. It can cause us all of these problems. So when we talk about earth grounding, the types of grounding there is, then in households and buildings, we're more familiar with earth grounding when they bring a rod that's connected to your box, your electrical box, they stick it in the ground, they connect the wire, and then they connect that into your box. That is earth grounding. Equipment grounding is when you're using equipment to prevent electrical shocks and linking devices to the ground to keep the voltage stable, because if there's a surge of energy that I'm sure when we have thunderstorms, when we have electrical storms, that can cause a surge of energy into your equipment. It could blow out your equipment. And if you don't have a power surge cord that you plug your computer in, when we have electrical thunderstorms, then we could damage our equipment. That's why in most cases we say cut the TV off, cut the computer off when there's an electrical storm, because it could come through the wires and damage your equipment. Now, we look at the benefits of this, and the benefits is we want to prevent electrical shocks and short circuits. We want to shield system from damage caused by voltage surges, and we want to enhance the stability and efficiency of electrical systems. Now, when we relate to psychology, we look at these grounding techniques that helps us to manage emotions. It helps us to reduce anxiety, stress, and panic. The last lecture we were in, we were kind of like talking about emotions to some degree, and how that's when they talk about manic depression or manic depressive is a person who stays in a panic mode. Their anxiety and their stress is so high, they could flip from being hyper to being depressed. These are levels of the energy because they're not grounded. So the mind can go from overcharge to undercharge. And when a person is grounded, that person anchors in the present moment and they create a sense of calm. Now, this sense of calm means that your nervous system is balanced. Now, the nervous system, there are two systems. There's a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. And in your clinical settings, when you go to medical clinics and you go to hospitals, you always see these two serpents going back and forth on buildings of medical establishments, and you see the wings at the top. They're talking about those two systems, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system being out of balance. And when they're out of balance, particularly at the psychological level, that person is in high anxiety, high stress, and high panic. And so with those people, they have to put them on drugs unless those people know how to calm themselves through consuming certain supplements that can help balance them out, as well as balancing their breath. There are certain breathing techniques that help that person to calm themselves and to become focused in the moment, in the present, and to gain control of these abnormal emotions that can cause the release of cortisol, which can cause a person to gain weight under that stress. It can cause a person to get anxiety where they can get high blood pressure because the heart is now being over anxious because the sympathetic nervous system is in an alarm state, and the body has released adrenaline from the adrenal cortex behind the kidney that runs through the circulation, comes over to the heart, and make the person feel like they're going to have a heart attack. So in grounding, one is able to help prevent all of those actions up on the body triggered from the mind when it is an emotional stress. And so grounding is fundamental, a necessity to help prevent those anxieties. So last week we were talking about, well, how many of you all are under stress? Because we talked about the Bach flowers. And then we talked about some of the other flowers that a person needs to know about in order to manage their stress so that they don't have to go and get drugs from a psychiatrist that will now make them perhaps not addictive to the drug, but dependent on the drugs. And we have people who have been on drugs for their entire life. And they create a condition called tardive dyskinesia, which is a condition that makes when you have become collateral damage from the drugs, you might be walking down the street and your arm just jump out all of a sudden. It just jump out of nowhere, where the arm just reach out. This is in effect because your nervous system is now becoming damaged, and now they've come up with a particular drug called something like Astrato that's supposed to help manage the tardive dyskinesia, which happens when you are on those drugs for too long. So, getting back to this grounding, we talk about you have these three types of techniques that would help you with the grounding. And on the physical grounding, this involves a person focusing on the physical sensations and they focus on textures or the feeling of feet on the ground. This is where you go outside. Like a day like today would have been perfect for grounding. You would have went out in a park, or if you have grass in front of your house, you would have been barefooted and would have allowed you to walk on the ground to dissipate the energy that would have been in your mind from being on the computers all day, on cell phones all day, and would have helped your body to to flow the energy in your body so that if there was pain in your body, if there was inflammation in your body, if there was disharmony in your mind, that it could be brought into balance. This is what Kristen was talking about last week with physical grounding. We say, well, who needs to ground? Everyone needs to be grounding because everyone is around computers, cell phones, around electrical um, uh, conductivity. And also, we are at the 5G level with these phones. These phones are putting out so much radiation. And back in the day when Johnny Cochran was alive, the phone wasn't even putting out as much radiation today. And he had it at his ear. He was one of the first ones that had a cell phone. He had it at his ear all the time. It was putting radiation in his brain because it gets hot. When you feel your phone getting hot and it's against your ear and your head, you need to get that phone away from you. You need to only be on your speaker most of the time if you can help it, or a earphones, because the radiation from that 5G phone is something that can cause those people when that phone heat up to start developing a tumor in your brain, and that happened to Johnny Cochran, and he died from cancer of the brain. Now, your mental grounding engages the mind, and one of the techniques you can do for mental grounding is counting backwards or identifying things in the room. What I mean by that, it's a matter of you sit and you might look at one object in the room and you focus on that object. They call it mental grazing. And you try to just observe your breathing as you watch that focus. Might be a dot on the wall. It might be a picture on the wall, and you focus on it, and it helps you. It helps you to deal with mental grounding, or counting backwards from 100, especially when you go to sleep. Counting backwards from 100, just like if you were in a dental office and he says, "Okay, we're gonna put you under this laughing gas to work on your teeth, and we want you to start counting backwards from 100 to 1, and by the time you're down to maybe 85, you are already under the sleeping gas, and the dentist can do his work. And when you come out, you're all giggly, you're all joyful because it made you happy, but at the same time, it was able to take you under and relax you because the so the dentist could do his work. Now, the third type of the grounding is your breath and body awareness. And this is where you help center your attention through deep breathing and make yourself aware of the body sensations that you have. Well, what are these sensations? Well, some of them are tension. In the course of a day, you can create so much tension and do not even know you are tense. And then that tension builds up over time. And then that tension starts to turn into discomfort. Now your body is starting to have trigger points. You're starting to have pain in your body. You say, well, where is all this pain coming from? I'm having pain, but you don't recognize or are aware how much tension you're holding. And so, and so breath and body awareness help you to become aware of that tension you build up from the day. Well, where did this tension come from? Well, it comes from every time you go through a situation that's stressful, you tense up and you're not even aware of it. And then when you move beyond that particular situation, you're still holding that stress and not aware of it. And when you hold so much of that stress, it blocks your circulation. And when it blocks your circulation, those are areas in your body that's not getting circulation. And now they're going to let you know they're not getting circulation because they're going to give you pain. And so this awareness in the breath, in the body awareness is something you need to know about so that you can get better. Now, I spoke last week that we're going to do a retreat in the Caribbean. And I'm going to be teaching about this in the Caribbean, teaching you how to breathe, how to release the tension, how to help your body center into the groundness so that you can feel better and use these techniques to get healthy and healthier and feel better as you move through time. Now, there are applications in this therapy, and the one is the mindfulness-based therapy. This is where we incorporate grounding to create our self-awareness. Well, grounding comes from different methods, and it comes from the mind taking control of the body, the spirit taking control of the mind, and the body releasing its stress from electrical devices around you, from chemical interaction with certain chemicals that stress you out into anxiety, and with the environment and with issues that you have with people around you that cause you stress. Now, if I ask any of you all, do you have any people around you that might cause you stress? I might get a resounding yes from all of you all because people can help us to become stressful because people get into our face and be telling us stuff that we really would not want to hear, but it's harmful. And what they're doing, they are damaging our electrical field. And that's why some people say they don't want to be around toxic people because those toxic people can cause anxiety to those people, cause stress and cause panic and cause pain. And those people don't want to go through that. Now, the other one is trauma therapy. And this one is you're learning grounding techniques to help you manage distressing memories and avoid dissociation. Now, that's where you would go into a particular session and you would bring up memories that could be stressful, they could be traumatic to you. And you would avoid the association, and we would take you into that association so we could help you relieve the stress that those trauma situations have embedded in you. And it can happen from childhood into adulthood, into seniorhood, because people around you can cause these situations, just like when the military personnel of people who went into the military and they went to Vietnam and they was traumatized by all the killings around them and all the shooting, and they came back shell shocked. And it was termed PTSD. That's how it was termed. And these people, they had all kind of emotional fallouts and they had to get psychological help. And some of these people are on drugs right now because of that. Some of these people are disabled because of that. And so trauma therapy is a way of helping individuals manage distressing memories, but we all need to bring up memories that could be stressful so we can work through them so we could be at the light of the other side of those memories. And I remember um, years ago, I worked in one of the agencies here in Chicago called the Bobby Wright Mental Health Agency, and people would come in there. It was the outpatient center that had multiple floors, and on every floor you had some people coming there because they were addicted to the drugs. So they was the drugs were helping them to manage their stress, but their life was in shambles. And then it had other people that were coming in that were having anxiety because they had decentralized the mental facilities that was major facilities in a facility called Illinois State Psychiatric facility that a lot of people went through. So they call themselves decentralizing that. And they created these mental health agencies in the community. And this one, Bobby Wright, it was one of the biggest in the country. So they commissioned my services to come in and to help de-stress the people that were coming to the facilities that the counselor were counseling, as well as to help decrease the stress of the counselors who had to do their case studies and do the cases so that they would had to put in the homework of the sessions so that the facility could get money from the state to pay them and to continue this particular program. So I was over about 3 different programs. One was outpatient, where the community came in, and another was the drug and alcohol participants, which was another program, and the other was developmental disability. I was working with all of them, and I was working with over 100 staff people that was at that facility. And we created a technology through biofeedback at the time and started teaching the young people how to, we connected the wires to their brain and taught them how to breathe and control their base threshold, where when they learned how to breathe to reduce their stress, they could actually turn music on with their mind. They could actually make a railroad or a train move just from the thoughts of their minds being so relaxed. And so that was a very enjoyable time to work with people who had mental stresses, as well as utilizing this technology in the jails and working with them because there's high stress in the jail, and teaching them how to become relaxed and how to gain control over themselves by gaining mindfulness and gaining groundfulness. Now, as we move further, we're talking about grounding. And in this particular case, we're talking now about grounding in mindfulness and spirituality. So, groundiness is a mindful practice. It helps to bring awareness to that person and reduce anxiety. Now, every day, most of us are at different levels of anxiety. The average person might say, I went through the day, I had some points in my day where it was a little stressful, but I got through the day, and I'm now trying to relax in the evening. They say, well, okay, well, how do you relax? Well, I got to drink some wine. I have to nowadays they have CBD to relax you, and some other people, they might say, well, I take a bath. I do other ways of reducing anxiety. Some might say, well, I have to take medication because I'm so stressed out. Well, the medication over time is not correcting the problem. It's just making us dependent upon the medication. So that's why teaching the people how to ground themselves and how to become mindful and how to focus and have the appreciation of the here and now, of the present, of being able to reduce their anxiety as their anxiety builds up. I can tell you that when I was 20, I was a person with high anxiety, and I didn't know about grounding. I didn't know about any of this, but I was a student in the sense that I was a seeker. I was a seeker to learn how to gain control over my hyperness. And I went and studied with the Swamis, and they taught me within the control of the breath how I could become cool, calm, and collective. And from that time to this time, I have been cool, calm, and collective. However, the anxiety is upon me, I go into my breath, I decrease the anxiety, I go into the mind, I decrease the mind, and I am ready to take on greater challenges because I am now in the here and now, and I have now put the breath to work to ground my mind where I can handle the stress, and the stress don't blow out my electrical system, don't blow out my circuits, don't blow out my switches, don't blow out the electrical capacity in my body to handle stress, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. So, based on this, we look at the benefits of the grounding practice. Well, what are the benefits? Well, we encourage a deeper connection with the body and the surroundings. We enhance the awareness and we reduce reduction of anxiety. Through the grounding, we alleviate our worries by fostering an internal sense of stability. This is what the breathing can help us do. If we learn the breathing, well, when you go to the medical doctor, are they teaching you anything about the breathing? I don't think so. Are they teaching you anything about the worry and the anxiety and how do you gain control of it? Have they told you about the grounding? Perhaps not. But
They
this is
don't know
something. Well, again, Kristen, I agree with you, but I'm just asking the question. I'm just Chris, Kristen had to step in and say they can't teach you what they don't know, and that is true. And that's why, as goddesses who are seeking the knowledge of the ancestors, must know, must learn, must teach your families because they will be going through anxiety. They will be going through panic moments, and they can hyperventilate. And what does that mean? That means you have lost all control of grounding, and now you are in a panic state, and your breathing is out of control, and your mind is in an alarm. And if you was to take that person to the hospital, they will give them a shot of a drug that will cool them out, and then they might say, well, they need some hospitalization. Well, sometimes that might be necessary, but a lot of times it's not, particularly if we can teach that person how to come into their breath and utilize the app. There's a breathing app that they step into a certain breathing rhythm and it cools them out. In the book that I'm writing, I talk about it in that book that you would be able to learn these apps. And so everybody needs to have a copy of this book so that they can learn these apps, so that they can use it to help their family members and friends and themselves become more cooled out and not go into panic. So now we look at grounding from the techniques in spirituality. So with this, we say everyone, every day. Now, let's say you live in a high rise building. Well, you need to find a park close around. You need to find anywhere there's grass. And you take your shoes off and you walk on the surface, and it connects you with the earth energy. So, what it does, it helps you to release the electricity or the negative energy that's in your body that's coming from you having cell phones on your ear, looking at computer screens all day, being bombarded with radiations that come from the EMF. Now, we're going to talk about the EMF. I don't want to go there just yet, which stands for electrical. So in that, the F is the electrical frequency, the electrical magnetic frequency is what we're looking at. So what we're saying is that in the electrical systems, it is the magnet that make electricity happens. And the magnet ties in with the batteries that make electricity happen. And electricity puts out a surge that you are receiving in your body. Well, how do we know that? Well, if you've ever walked on ground on a floor in a building that had a carpet, if you walked on that carpet and you touched an electrical switch, electrical outlet where you were getting ready to turn the switch of the lights on or off, and you felt a shock, that was the electricity that you created from walking on the carpet, stimulating electricity from your body. So we say, if you are learning these benefits of the grounding, if you are working with this, you can alleviate worries by fostering an internal sense of this ability, and this comes through the grounding and the breathing. Now, in the spiritual connection of the grounding, you can facilitate these feelings of connecting and belonging to what? To the universe. And that's why when you go outside and you're rubbing your feet against the ground and you raise your arms to the sky, you're able to pull in the electrical current from the sun that moves through your body and balance your energy. Now, as we go deeper into this, I'm going to show you pictures of what it's like when you are disconnecting from this electricity that your body is putting out and that you are grounding correctly. I'm going to show you what the pictures look like from a thermal. This is a thermal screen that shows the colors when you are grounded and when you're not grounded. Now, your visualization exercises, this is something that helps to connect you to the ground, and it can evoke stability and calm. Now, this visualization, part of it is taking you into a visualization where we take you into a scenery where you're in a environment where you're outside, like you at an island. You're on an island and you're laying on the ground and the grass is green and you're breathing, and you find when we take you through this visualization, when you finish, you are so relaxed. You are so relaxed. You think you took a downer. You are so relaxed. It is unbelievable. Now, when I do this retreat next year in the Caribbean, I'm going to take people through that. And then we talk about the breath work, controlling your breathing patterns to focus on your centering oneself, grounding oneself so that one can become more relaxed. Now, in the book, The Breath Work, we create the breath work blueprint. So all of this you will be able to learn so that as you take on these practices, you will become as cool as the sisters of the ancient past. You will walk within the period of the third eye and not be so disturbed by the situations that happen around you, among you, and the people that can bring the drama and deground you. You will become so cool that at the worst of these situations, you will be telling yourself, I remember when I went through that situation before, and I was just a bag of nerves. They had unnerved me, and it made me so nervous. It made me sick. It made me want to tell them, don't even come back because you make me sick. And so don't tell people that, because that really physically can happen because you are losing the ability of your grounding. Now, when we talk about this grounding under these practical techniques for daily life, we're looking at body scanning, checking each part of your body to relieve tension. Now, this is something that perhaps tonight we might not have time because there's a lot I have to cover, but perhaps in our next session, we'll go through that, a whole body scan and releasing the tension of the body. And then the other thing is when you're touching objects with textures, you hold these objects and you can feel the texture, which helps you to create an anchor in the present. It could be fabric, like a lot of people like to feel the feeling of velour, the feeling of velour. They like to feel that, and they like to feel the feeling of cashmere. They like to feel the feeling of silk. They like to feel the feeling of satin. They like to feel the feeling of wool. And particularly when you need to be warm, you wrap yourself around a wool blanket and you come up under it and it becomes like a cocoon and it becomes comforting to you. So you feel this. So all of this texture is certain objects or certain materials that can anchor you in the present and help you to feel more connected to yourself. Now, under the mental techniques, we have the mindful breathing, which is the connecting you to the present, which is a way of grounding you. And then we talked about counting objects as well as to bring awareness back to surroundings or just counting numbers. Well, I'm sure you all have heard when a person go to sleep and they say, count the sheeps. Count the sheeps when you go to sleep. Count the sheeps backwards, 100 sheeps, 99 sheets, 98 sheets. And when you're counting, this brings awareness to you being there resting. And as you try to keep your mind focused, it's going to help you to slip into slumber. So now when you have slipped into slumber, you are grounded. But there are these different ways you have to do it because we are so hyped. We are so on the edge that we don't even recognize it until we have to have an indicator. Well, indicator might be so much tension in your body, you're feeling pain. It might be so much anxiety in your mind, you're feeling anxiety. It might be so much worry in your mind that your heart is hurting, or so much anxiety or anger in your organs that your 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 liver can't digest your food. Your pancreas can't handle breaking down the carbs coming in your body and create excess cortisol, which would cause you to not be able to break down those foods that have carbohydrates and give you diabetes. And so, in this practice of understanding this this grounding and this mindfulness and the counting these objects, you become more engaged through the intention of your breathing and your mental awareness and your focus to help you become cool, calm, and collective like the Sphinx, like the cat who sits by the Nile and who is so cooled out because they have control of their breath. They've mastered their breath. And as humans and as individual, we are so far from mastering our breath because no one is teaching the apps to help us master the breath, ground ourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually, be in balance so we can be in harmony of wellness. So we need to incorporate this grounding into a routine, something we do every day so that we can improve our emotional resilience and stability. And even brief daily grounding moments of taking a few breaths before a meeting or doing a quick body scan, it can enhance our well-being more so. And this we're going to be going into. We have to. If you all are going to be those goddesses who now move into a higher, greater wellness of yourselves, as well as bring greater wellness to your families, stabilize your families, so the drama that happens in families, the 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 panic that can come when anxiety is upon the family through all the different situations. It can come because of death. It can come because of different situations that can be so stressful. So if one knows this, then one puts forth the rituals, which we call the practices of the routines, to help us greatly enhance our well-being. And so we encourage regular grounding exercise. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. I'm going to show you that. And then we're going to encourage this so that we can become those who become cool, calm, and collective. So whatever stress comes around us, we will be the last to become stressful. Because the more you are stressed out, the more your systems shut down, and the more they sit down, the more the discomfort and then the dis-ease come upon us. And then once we get into the high level of the dis-ease, then we have the symptoms that send us to the doctors and the hospitals and to the psychiatrist. And then we have to take all this medication because that's all they have for us. And now we are stuck on the medication because we do not have the rituals that can help us to stay in a harmony of health as the ancient goddesses walked with and the ancient gods walked with, that kept them into a divine state of health. Now, if that was in England, that would be the lords and the lords and that they would call them that, but in Kemet they would call them the gods and goddesses. So we say we're going to incorporate this. We're going to incorporate it, and as we incorporate it, we will become powerful in the control of ourselves and become cool, calm, and collective. Now you can imagine when I was younger and I was hyper, I was in a sense of anxiety. And when I learned these secrets, and I became cool, calm, and collective. And when I went into the mental institutions and taught them, and then from that institution of Bobby Wright, the directors of other institutions had me come to their institution and do staff training to teach their staff how to gain control of their breath and how to be calm in the midst of the demands that were brought them to do the case studies and to get their records in so that the facility could get the money from the state and work with the clients who were stressed out and all of that. And that was the earlier part of my healthcare service that was in the mental realms. And then it more went into the physical realms, and I started teaching people how to become healthier. And then it went into the realms of the elders and teaching the elders how to become healthier. And then it was in the realms of the young people and teaching them how to not get stressed out in the early ages. And so my collective experiences in sharing this knowledge is very broad and very vast because I have 55 years of, of, of teaching and of the studies that enhanced me and brought me to a high level of mindfulness and a high level of control over my electrical system, whereby I wasn't shorting out. Well, what does shorting out mean? That means when you go into anxiety. That means when you are so stressed that you got to take something to alleviate, some stimulant to alleviate you from the stress because now you feel you're about to burn out. And so in this holistic approach, one cannot be burning out because one knows how to elevate up and one knows how to ground well and one knows how to bring the well-being of themselves back from their spiritual, mental, and physical well-being so they can be those who are in great control of themselves like our ancestors were. And so if we look at if this is physical protection where we need to ground ourselves in engineering, or the mental protection of grounding where we need to become mindful and we need to get into that space where we can prevent the anxieties and the worries and the grief and the sorrow and the anxiety and get to the point where we have stabilized, we have established stability in the various areas of our life, both in the psychological, the physical, and the spiritual. We then will have the emotional stability so we can stay well, and the mental grounding where we can stay well. Now, the encouragement of this application is the participants who are encouraged to explore. I want you all to see this as an exploration, not as a activity of a routine, but as an exploration that you are exploring to go deep within yourself. As the ancestors said, to know thyself. That's where that came from. They explored within to know themselves. And the ancestors utilizing these techniques for daily life saw the significant improvement through these disciplines to bring themselves to their highest self and to become the highest self of their potential to create a very high level society. Now, if we look at our society, we are in great, I would say, disharmony. We see road rage on the street. We see we see school shootings where people are going to school killing all the children. And we say, do you think they need some grounding? Do you think they need some mental stability? Do you think they need some spiritual stability? I would say a resounding yes, because our community, they don't even talk about all the shootings that's happening across the country where we are on burnout. We are on point zero, ready to go off at any given moment and ready to create trauma and violence upon each other. That is a burnout. That would be having an electrical fire in your house and it is on full burn. So we say, do we need to have that, or do we need to have the understanding of what I'm sharing so we can have a safe house, safe streets, safe schools? So do we need to have this knowledge in our schools? I would say a resounding yes, but who's going to be the teachers? Who's going to teach these students so that they can all be in a healthier mindset so they do not bring violence and drama to the rest of the society where you see the students running out of school because now they've created the drills for the drama that's coming at them. So we say, well, how does grounding protect the people from radiation of the cell phones and the computers? Well, let's look at that. Now, we can talk about first minimize the static and electrical fields. So we say grounding, it helps to dissipate the static electricity that is the excess of electrical charge from the electrical devices that come into our bodies. And we need to minimize this electrical field because that's one of the things that's making these children go off, is giving them electrical charge. They don't know how to decharge this electrical current, and it's causing them to go off mentally. So they need to minimize this electrical field around the devices. They need to reduce the electromagnetic frequency of the exposure, and they need to ground their devices for less electrical charges, for more effective neutralize and redirect this away from the user. Now, we are in an environment that is highly electrical now with these cell phones and these computers, and they are bombarding us with these radiations that we don't know how to diffuse. We don't know how to diffuse them if we have not heard about grounding. Now, the environmental balance deals with grounding, connects the devices to stabilize us with the earth. And when we can balance this electrical energy in our environment, we can reduce the likelihood of these electrical field effects and these buildups from ungrounded electrical devices, as well as us being ungrounded, and us, or those of us who are blowing the circuits. Well, what is that? That's your people who they are so far in the irritation, they got to go kill some people. They got to go and create road rage. They got to go and create the drama on society because they are so far away from grounding that is an explosive keg of dynamite ready to go off and blow up some stuff. So we say, do we need to have a system that can help them? I say a resounding yes, because we're going to hear more of it, because these people are not getting the understanding to help balance them, and our communities are in danger because of that. Now, it might not be a student who is at the school killing a bunch of people with an AK-47, but it might be a person in our community who have now went off the deep end, and now they're killing people in their family. This is somebody who have went off on the deep end, and now they're killing themselves because this electrical charge, they don't understand, but they know they can't handle it, and now they hurt themselves or someone else. That is the irritation of it. So we said, as I stated early, walking on the carpet and touching an electrical outlet can cause a shock to an individual. That is the electromagnetic field that is created when you walk on the carpet and you touch an electrical outlet, because now you are not grounded when you are on that carpet. If you had rubber shoes and you were on that carpet and you touched that outlet, you wouldn't have that spark. So anyway, we go further and we talk about the body grounding in the EMF shielding. Now, this talks about the practices of earthing one, as we said, stand barefoot on natural surfaces, but to get a little deeper. So now we're going to take this a little deeper. We say, well, this might help neutralize the excess electrical energy in the body that might show up in the mind and might cause that person to become disrespectful. So now that's that person that's going off on the deep end on somebody. They're cursing them out. They're all angry. You say, well, why is this person so angry? I just said this. Well, you might not know, but that person now, their electrical charge is up to their neck, and they're not able to dissipate it. So they dissipate it out through their head, through their mind, by saying some negative stuff to somebody that's in their space because they don't know how to handle this energy. So we say the science is still emerging, and some people report feeling less discomfort from the EMF exposure after using these grounding techniques. So we say, well, what kind of grounding techniques can we use other than just walking on the grass outside? Well, there are certain mats and sheets and pads that you can buy, and it helps to direct this buildup of the EMF charges, the electromagnetic frequency charges from all these computers and cell phones we're using away from the body. And it creates a grounding path for these charges. And these products help to reduce the prolonged electromagnetic frequency exposure that we're getting from these computers and from these cell phones. So we're saying, okay, do you all think we need to reduce this electromagnetic interference in these devices? Do you think we need to be grounding so it can help the electric devices move more smoother, so we can reduce this electromagnetic interference? We can help these devices generate less electromagnetic frequencies, and it can create an overall reduction of the electromagnetic field exposure in our environment? Yes. But how many of us know about this? Who do we need to be telling about it? Well, we need to tell everyone. Just like we're telling everyone about the protection from the COVID. We need to tell everybody, because if COVID don't get you, this electrical interference can get you, and you could go off on somebody. You could create drama to yourself and somebody else, or someone in your family can create drama to themselves or the people around them. And so we need to teach them. And that's what the goddesses are here for, to teach the people so that the people have the rituals and the techniques so the people can be protected from this disgrounding and from the effects that it can happen to the body, the mind, and the spirit. So we say this grounding can help to prevent these devices from creating this excess, and it can help in the environment, but we need to create the limitations of the grounding for the radiation protection. So if we don't have grounding, we're going to have more radiation. If we're going to have more radiation, we could get cancer from the radiation. This is what happened to Johnny Cochran. But the telephone companies, they're not going to tell you. Computer companies, they're not going to tell you. So if you don't know and you find yourself in distress, well, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Were you on the computers all day? Were you on your cell phones all day? Did you get a chance to walk around on the grass at all to dissipate that energy? These are higher frequencies now that we're in 5G. We really, really going to have to understand this and move on the protection, because 5G will double your radiation 5 times. That's what each G stands for, how much more is going to cause radiation in your brain, how much is going to cause radiation in your body. But do we need our computers? Yes. Do we need our cell phones? Yes. Do you look at the young people? And these young people, they should not have a phone in their pocket because the radiation can cause them to become sterile. I hope you all are hearing me, because you might have a young person wondering why they can't have children because they have become sterile from this radiation of the cell phone stuck in their front pocket or back pocket around their reproductive organs. Now, this grounding, it has limited effects on the higher frequency EMF. So on the higher frequency EMFs, you need more other protections, because these radio frequency radiations from your cell phones, they are a higher frequency. They're less affected by grounding because they're transmitted as waves, and they don't dissipate through the grounding alone too much. So you need other protective measures, such as keeping the devices at a distance, using speaker modes or headsets, and limiting exposure to effectively manage these high frequency EMF frequencies from your mobile phones. So imagine when people are getting cancer and we say, well, where does the cancer come from? Well, one of the things it comes from is all this radiation that we have now put into our environment. If we recognize years and years ago, before we got into all this high level technology, cancer was not as high as it is now. We didn't hear as many people getting cancer. But cancer comes from the radiation of the electrical. It comes from the food we eat, it comes from the air we breathe, it comes from the chemicals we're taking in our foods, it comes from the chemicals that's in our environment, in our growing, it comes from the chemicals in our air, it comes from the chemtrails that's being lowered from the airplanes flying across the sky trying to prevent the global warming, dropping aluminum onto the ground, aluminum particles as we're breathing to help create this particular lack of ground and create the brain not being able to hold the thought, helping us to get dementia. So we have to protect ourselves against this radio frequency. We call it the RF radiation from the cell phones, the polarized lights from your phones and from your computers, and the different types of devices. They are different types. And we're going to give an overview of these options designed to mitigate this exposure. Now, there is a screen that you can use to put on your computer. Some of you all might already have it. And this can block your EMF frequencies, this particular screen. And it contains metallic meshes or conductive material to neutralize those RF radiation frequencies. And users, while using it, allows the signal flow out the back of the phone. It allows the phone to dismit that radiation so it don't go into your brain and cause your brain to start developing a tumor. So whenever you feel hotness from your phone on your brain, you need to definitely move the phone away from your brain, but you need to not be on that phone as much as possible. Now, there are RF shields. Those are radio frequency shields that you can use for the laptops and your tablets. And there are tablet cases and shields with the EMF protection, providing a barrier that reduces the radio frequency emissions directed at the body when using this frequency on your lap. I would say, well, how many of you all put a tablet on your lap? How many of you put a computer on your lap? Well, if it's putting out a radiation around your reproductive organs, it could prevent you from having children. It could prevent your children from having children. And that's why we're now dependent on the system of the fertile therapy in order to help people have children, because they're getting radiation that's helping to prevent that. So if we look at the EMF absorption devices, we say that the EMF absorbers, these are small devices, they attach to your phone or your laptop and claim to absorb or reduce RF radiation. I have one on my phone. Every time I get a new phone, I put that on the back of the phone and to protect the radiation from going into my brain to prevent me from getting cancer in the brain. Now, they're typically designed with materials that neutralize absorb RF energy, and their effectiveness varies with the particular screen that you use, and it may not block all radiation, so you have to have a very good one that block radiation. Now, years ago, when we first kind of started getting into computers, we were dealing with a technician from California, and he was teaching us of a polarity device that was shaped like a pyramid, but it was in a circle, and you put it on the cord in your house, just one of your cords, and it balanced the energy in your whole house. So he shared that with us years ago, over 30 years ago. This was in 2000. This was in 1988. He shared it with us, 1988. So you can imagine that's over 38 years ago. Over 38 years ago. But anyway, that's a device that we still have in our house. We have it on the cord, and it protects the whole electromagnetic frequency of this energy in our house. So that's one of the devices that we use. So now also they have what's called Faraday bag and cages, and this can be used to block the RF signals, and you place the phone inside this bag, and it reduces this exposure, but it also can cut off your communication because no signals can get in, no signals can get out. Now, the cages, they provide a complete RF blocking exposure, and they use them in lab settings or homes to reduce the RF interference. Now, blue lights, polarized lights blocking glass, this is a particular light that when you use it, it the lenses of it help filter out the glare from the reflective light, and this can include polarized lights from screens like on your computers, TVs, and this can help reduce your eye strain. But this would be without blocking RF radiation. That's why you would need these other devices to block the radiation from the phones, from the computers, and from your electrical systems. So the blue light, it blocks the glasses, reducing these glasses, reducing the blue light coming from your digital screen. And uh, even though it might not be specifically for RF radiation, it can help mitigate the eye strain, sleep disruption. So when a lot of times you all can't sleep, it's because those computers have bombarded you with so much radiation that you have in your brain, you have so much extra energy moving electrically that you can't shut the brain down to go to sleep. That would be like you can't shut your computer down to go to sleep. So when you can't go to sleep, you can't heal. And when you can't heal and you wake up and your body is uncomfortable, your body don't feel good, you don't feel refreshed, is because the radiation is now affecting you. So now we talk about shielding fabric and paints. They came out with some paints that are applied to the wall, and it can block RF signals and reduce radiation penetration in your home and office. And they came out with certain fabrics that was made of metal infused fibers, and these fabrics were used on curtains, beddings, clothing to reduce RF blocking. And these fabrics were commonly used for individuals sensitive to electromagnetic frequency, which means as those people are bombarded by these frequencies, those are the people who are becoming irritated. They can't sleep, they get over irritation, they get angry quick, they start they nowadays they call it postal meltdown. Postal meltdown. I'm sure you have heard it in the news. Somebody went into postal meltdown and killed up a bunch of people because the electromagnetic frequency was so much that it caused their brain to fry and caused them to go into a a war page. It caused them to go onto a war path and put their life at risk and kill themselves after they killed a bunch of people. So now we talk about grounding mats and earthing sheets. Now we're gonna get a little deeper into this because we're getting ready to go into showing you some grounding pads. Okay. So grounding pads. Now these are called earthing pads, sheets, or pads. They help connect the body to the Earth's natural charge, which can assist in neutralizing the effect of low frequency electromagnetic frequency that's directing the charges away from our bodies and not blocking the RF radiation grounding, but they've been linked to reducing oxidative stress, and people can find them to be helpful. Now, these RF filters, they can be plugged in, these devices, into your home outlet to reduce what we call dirty electricity. Dirty electricity is when you have electrical surges in the EMF generated by household electronics and Wi-Fi routers. So if I ask all of you, do you have a router, a Wi-Fi router in your house?
Oh, yeah.
Or your computer? You might say yes, where that is putting out EMF and it's putting out radio frequencies, and you need to, and that is creating dirty electricity that might help you to develop anxiety. And when you feel nervous and you think, well, why am I nervous? Well, maybe because I ate some sugar, maybe because some people got on my last nerve. No, it could be the electricity from your computer, from your cell phones that's causing your brain to have extra electrical charges and is now causing you to get anxiety to your heart and causing you to have hypertension because you are getting overcharged from this electricity from these devices. So we're saying we need to harmonize these devices. We need to balance the RF radiation or neutralize it by emitting these opposing frequencies. Now, here is the precautionary tips for reducing the RF frequency. We already stated, use speaker mode or headphones. This reduces the direct concept of the cell phones to your ear by having these headphones or having on speaker. Limit your screen time. Reducing all overall screen and devices lower your cumulative exposure. Now, how would that show up? Well, if you were someone who went and grounded yourself during the course of the day, you worked on the computer a couple hours, you got up, you went and walked out on the grass if you had it around you, you had your blue screen up, reducing the polarized light coming to you, causing your brain to be more hyperactive at night where you can't sleep. Using these methods together, the Faraday bag, the EMF shielding case, the polarized glasses, it can provide an effective protection for both the RF radiation and polarized light exposure so you could go to sleep at night. Now, you could put one of these beauty masks on to block out the light from the radiation from the room, what have you, that could help you to sleep also better. Now, there's a term, and it's called diode, and this is a particular little device you can put on your phones. You could have it as a as a as asset to you to help block this radiation to your body. Now, these diodes, they're semiconductor devices, and they allow the current to flow in one direction and blocks it in the other direction. But these are not directly blocked or shield from the body electromagnetic radiation, such as your RF radiation from the cell phones. That's why we have to have the Faraday cases to protect us from this radiation. Now, this can indirectly contribute to the radiation protection in certain contexts, but here's how it shows up. Reducing your electrical noise and dirty electricity and interference. This is where you block the reverse current. The diodes prevented the unwanted current flowing back into the current that then can come back into your body. Now, we help to minimize these electrical noise and interference and reduce the low-level electromagnetic frequencies generated by the electrical devices. Now, thereby, this caused a cleaner and more stable electrical environment, reducing the lower certain types of EMF radiation. Now, why do we want to reduce this? We want to reduce this voltage because it is a suppression of the overvoltage. And these diodes, one in particular called the Zener diodes, they're used to regulate these voltage. And when they're installed in power supplies or signal lines, they help maintain consistent voltage, reducing the risk of high voltage spikes that can generate additional electromagnetic interference and keep the voltage stable, reducing the frequency of electrical fluctuation and potentially lowering your EM emission. Now, there is some noise in the background. There is some noise in the background. Whoever that is, can one filter that noise? Thank you. Thank you. So in using this current, because we're now moving into the last of this, and I'm going to show you some pictures of these grounding pads and just show you more of this. We want to look at the EMI filters, and we say these are used in protecting the voltage. And we combine these with capacitors and inductors. The diodes help to filter out these unwanted high frequency noises in the circuit that causes the dirty electricity, that causes us to get hyper. It causes us to get irritated. A lot of times we find ourselves irritated, going off on somebody, and we don't even know why, but we don't know we just got off the computer and we became irritated because the electromagnetic frequency of the radiation caused our brain to become overactive and cause our patience to become very short and cause us to go off on others because it is this extra electrical charge dissipating in our brain, causing us to get irritated and go off on people. So if I pose a question to you all, are we more into technology now than ever before? Are we using this technology for good usage, but we're seeing the effects of it in our society, where we see the children so hyper, they can't hold their focus for 5 minutes. We see our adults so irritated that they're going off and burning out and getting illnesses and sickness, and our children having to be hospitalized because they're over bombarded with this radiation from being on these phones and in front of these computers, in front of these gaming computers and all that. And this is the life they're living in front of these video gaming equipment and all of this, being in front of the computer. Do we need help? So then we say rectification of power supplies. Diodes, they are key components in converting AC to DC, and it helps to create a more stable, lower EF power environment for devices like laptops and other electronics in contact with users. Where now we are at what we call the AC signal alternating. We are at that. And now that we are in what we call Wi-Fi, we are in direct signal. So they say, oh, this is a better technology, this electrical technology. We're moving to the AC and all of this, and we're getting better electricity. Well, it's having a society, it's having an effect on society, where society is reaping the negative results of that in our social environment, in our social interaction with each other. Now, the RF protection in the circuits where we have high frequency signal blockage is a specialized diode called the Stokot diode, and is used to protect against RF signals in certain electrical devices. These devices, they absorb direct high frequency signal, and they help to keep these signals from reaching other parts of the circuit and our brain. In some RF shielding cases, the diodes can help protect circuits, managing and reducing the signal, though this doesn't fully block the RF radiation. That's why we have to keep these phones away from our ears, and we have to put a polar screen in front of your computer, whereby it will block the radiation to you and help you to sleep at night, where you can get better rest and help you be less irritated that's coming from all that radiation, causing your electrical field to be overcharged. And the way the people are releasing that charge is in their verbal attack on each other, that then becomes physical attacks on each other. So I'm going to end with this, and I'm going to go to a couple pictures for you of these pads, and I'm going to show you what it looks like with what these pads do to you, as well as walking on grass and all of that. So the diodes, they don't act as barriers or shields against radiation in the way that RF blocking cases do. That's the Faraday cases, or the EMF shielding fabrics that I spoke about. And for direct protection against that radiation, your physical barriers, you need the conduct materials of the metal mesh or the specialized fabric, because they're more effective. The diodes are helpful with its and volt, but you also need indirect reduction of low-level EMF, electromagnetic frequencies that do not block the radiation from reaching the body, but the diodes can help. So you got to have all these different technologies to help you. These different, like the Faraday cages and the EMF shielding fabrics. You need all of this to help you, because if we say, do we see our society on a burnout mode? Do we see more people killing the people in the schools, the children? Do we see this? Well, who's addressing this? Nobody is addressing it. They're saying we need more police. I would say that it's practical, but how about we help the people in our society not go to the burnout stage of the postal meltdown?
Yeah.
Now, let me go
Dr. Hopkins,
to,
where,
yes,
where do you get earthing mats from?
I'm getting ready to show you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let me see what we got. Let's see how I can do this. Okay. Okay, I know. Let's see. This. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Here we go.
Dr. Hoppy,
Yes.
I have a question. The EMF blockers that you're speaking of, are they the same ones that you have on your in your wallet to protect your credit cards from people walking by?
Yes. Yes.
Well,
That is.
I have a wallet that has that. I have an EMF blocker on my phone and my computer, and I have a cap that's a EMF protector.
So this is good.
Yeah.
But are you grounding yourself?
Yes. Yes, I've learned about grounding. We called it earthing back in the day.
Well, back in the day, they would call it that.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here we go. Now this is a
Oh.
grounding. This is a pad. Can everyone see it?
No.
Everyone see
No.
this pad?
No. No.
No?
Yes, we want to see it, but no, we can't
Okay,
see it.
okay. Well, we're gonna do something about it. Let's
Maybe
see if
take
we can
it
do
out.
something about it. Let's see if we can do something about this. Okay, here we go. Can we see it now?
Yes.
Okay, now this one is it's more expensive, but this one is for your bed to help you go to sleep at night.
Hmm.
Let me see here. Now this one,
And they have smaller ones too.
I have smaller ones. I'm gonna show you some. I'm gonna show you some.
I have
What
a
is it
travel size one that I take with me.
what is it called?
It's called the grounding pad.
Mm-hmm.
Can we see this? Can everybody see
Yes.
this?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you get it from?
They have them on
Amazon. Amazon.
Just put it on top of your sheets.
You say what?
You put it on top of your sheet.
Yes.
What is that device she has?
It ties in with the grounding pad. It's a tester for the grounding pad.
So this is constant. You stay on this constant. Oh.
Yes. Yes.
You're very confident, you're a great student, and both things so well. So everybody think positive and help me with the decision, okay?
Who is the winner of this battle?
Okay, now let me see. Let me out of this and let me go back into this. Now, Do everybody see this right here? Everybody see this right here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
watch. Now this is the grounding pad. She snaps that into the grounding pad, the other side into the cord. You can use the white cord or the other one. The other one's like a power surge, where if there was a power surge, it wouldn't cause. Now they call this Earth and Moon. This is the name of the company, Earth and Moon. So what you're seeing her do the same thing over. She snaps that into the grounding pad, the other part of the cord into the outlet. When she plugs the outlet into the wall, it grounds this pad to release electricity in your body and to help you rest.
So people who can't sleep at night can try this. I hear people say they can't sleep.
Yes, people at night can try this. Now, these are different pads. Can everybody see all these different pads?
Mm-hmm.
One you can put under your feet, you can put on your bed, you can put on under your when you are sitting at your computer, you can have your feet on this to ground some of the radiation.
Hmm.
Okay.
Did that work? Huh? Hmm.
Now, do everyone see this right here?
Oh yeah.
This is
Mhm.
showing your legs when you are exposing yourself to radiation. The non-grounded person, notice the areas of inflammation in red. That is the person who have pain around their knees because their body is not dissipating the electricity that's coming into their bodies from the radiation of the computers and their cell phones. So a lot of times when we have pain and inflammation, it's because our body has an excess amount of electrical charge that's not being dissipated. Do we see the color of the legs when it's a grounded person? Can we
Mhm.
see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The color different? Do you see red there? Because the grounding pad decreased the inflammation and it improved circulation. That's what is in the blue, improved circulation. Well, what comes in with the circulation? Oxygen.
Right.
What is lacking when you see the red in your knees? The lack of oxygen, because the electricity has neutralized the oxygen charge of the oxygen. So when people have diabetes, do you think they need to have a grounding pad? If they have all this radiation that's in their bodies, they're on the computers, they're on the cell phone, they got diabetes, and they're starting to get gangrene in their legs, and they're starting to get tissue that's not healing up. Do you think they need a grounding pad?
Wow.
So tissue
Walk
damage.
on.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought
So
about Dr. Happy. I just sat
Dr.
there
Har-
and pulled out my grounding pad and put my feet on it while we're in this session. Like, oh man,
Everybody should have a grounding pad to put their feet on anytime they're on the computer. They will see a difference in how they feel after being on the computer all day, as well as going outside, walking on the grass. So here it says tissue damage generate heat, represented by the hot colors on the left. The difference shows how a clear and rapid resolution of inflammation utilizing the grounding pad.
wow.
Dr. Harpy,
Yes, Chris.
the EMF,
What?
you always answer all if you don't want us to ask the question, but I'm gonna ask a question.
Well, no, I
Anyway,
want you to
the
ask
EMF,
questions.
Mm-hmm.
Go
He
ahead.
loves
the waves also could be causing a lot of Americans now are developing things such as bone cancer.
That's right.
And so a lot of that is causing a lot of cancer. And I'm like me, because I analyze everything as a scientist. Even in Virginia, when I grew up in our capital city, we did not have all these cancer hospitals. We have cancer hospitals at all of our major hospitals in Virginia.
Right.
And I like we just see so many people like that have just bone cancer. If it's
Right.
damaging the tissue, it's going all the way through the bones.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's why we need to be informed. If you look at this picture here, do you see right here? Do you see this picture of the person and their dog on the pad? They're doing yoga
Yes.
and their dog is on the pad with them. What this is telling us that if you have animals, you should have them on the pad too. You should be putting your animals on these pads.
My dog
We
loves
know
my
this.
grounding pad.
You said, what did you say, Dr.
My
Blessman?
dog loves the grounding pad.
Yes, because they can tell the difference in the balance.
Mhm.
Now let's get back here. Let's go back here again to here. Let's see.
They even have grounding vests for dogs.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, they do.
know
Yes,
that.
they do. Grounding vest. Yes, they do. So the thing is, do we need to be aware of these grounding pads? Now, let me show you some grounding pads. Let me show you some. Let me show you some. Let me go up. Now, this is a person, they're sitting on their grounding pad in a chair reading a book. Here's another person. They're on the grounding pad doing yoga. Here's another person. This is an electric wave grounding pad with the vegan carbon leatherette, boost wellness, reduce inflammation. What did we say the grounding pad do? Did you see the colors of the tissue that I showed you when a person is not grounded and is being over electrified? Did I show that to you where you saw the red creating the inflammation? You saw the blue when the circulation was better from the grounding pad, balancing the electricity in the body. Now here's a grounding pad for a bed to sleep on. Here's one they're standing on. Here's one they're doing yoga. And this is the cord. One part of the cord plugs into the pad. The other one plugs into a cord that you plug into the outlet. That's what's going to deground you. Now here, look at this wonderful dog. This almost look like former President Obama's dog. Almost. He's a happy dog. He got his grounding pad himself. Now here's a grounding pad here you stand on.
Why do the dogs need a grounding pad? What does it do for them?
Well, the dog isn't he's running around in the house where you got all this electrical radiation bombarding the dog like it's bombarding you. A Wi-Fi router is putting out radiation in the environment. The dog is getting ready. So when you see some of these dogs and they real irritated, that's because they're getting the charge from that from that electricity making them irritated. Now here we're gonna have to wind down the this seminar, but let's just see what they're saying here.
Yeah,
Pull
because
it out.
44.
Pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 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 You see what they did with their phone? They put the phone under the pad to ground the phone. Remember we showed you this? They're checking the pad to see where the energy is. You see where they put their computer on the pad? Do you see where they put their feet on the pad while on the computer?
Can you bring that computer back, Dr. Humphrey?
Okay, well.
Why did they put the
Okay,
computer on the pad?
wait, it's gonna happen again. Just watch. Just watch. See if I can turn this up. Let's see. Turn it up. Now, let me go back to video. Okay, now watch it closely. Watch it closely. That's a pad. No. This is something that can be used better and thicker. There's your phone. It's protecting the radiation. There is the tester to let you see when that green light goes on, when they put that other side of the cord and they're touching the pad, it's showing the protection. This is called Mariski grounding pad. Okay.
So should schools and stuff be providing this stuff for the children? I mean,
Well, how are they going to provide it for the children if nobody's educating the educators that they need it? Who's
Everybody needs one, Renee. Everybody.
But who's educating the teachers to know they need it so that students can not be irritated because they're dealing with all this radiation while they're using their computers and laptops, and they're irritable, and they're short patient because they're getting all this radiation. This is future. This is future.
It should be the doctors and the scientists, Dr. Harpy, but they are not.
Well, let me tell you this. I know, but I'm going to tell you this. It is slowly coming into awareness. There is one doctor, she's a scientist, a PhD, and she's talking at the high level to institutions and what have you about this, how this radiation can cause fertility, can cause a person to become sterile, women and men to be sterile from these laptops on your lap with these cell phones in your pocket. And so it's just a matter of we have to take on more exposure, and we have to educate the educators to help the children get control of themselves and help them to focus so that they don't burn out, so that they don't irritate and postal melt and have a postal meltdown. We have to educate the educators. Well, who gonna do that? Well, I'm willing to do that because how long have I been involved with this whole understanding of how we can become emotionally out of balance? Well, only 55 years. Well, the average educator, how long have they been educating? What have they been teaching the students about? Not about this. Do you think the students need to know? Yes, they do.
Well,
So
Dr. Harpy, if you
yes.
actually want to look at it scientifically and rational, anybody that is a physicist knows this because we know that radiation causes problems like that. Anything from cancer, all that. We have known that for longer than I am old.
So,
but the problem is, do we really listen to those people?
No,
we know this.
don't.
I mean, I played with a Geiger counter 30 years ago when I was in college. We know that radiation causes cancer and all this kind of stuff. I worked on a project, but the problem is doesn't want you to know that because that will stop the sales of stuff.
Yes, but should we know it anyway? Yes.
We should know that. That's what I'm saying to you, Dr. Harpy. It's like,
yes, but we have to do something about it. We can't just know it. We have to educate these educators because are the children getting more unbalanced? That's the question I posed to you. Are the children getting more unbalanced?
Yes.
Is the adults getting more unbalanced?
The children are unhinged. They're unhinged.
Are we seeing more road rage?
Yes.
Are we seeing more meltdowns in the schools where the children are killing? They're killing they're killing the other students. They're killing the teachers.
Yep.
Right? So we have to educate. The whole thing is education, and it has to come about because our society is in great danger. So are there any other questions? Because now we have went past our time as usual.
Wait, one question, please. At the beginning of the seminar, you said you stuck something in your outlet in regards to the electricity.
The other side of the grounding pad has an electrical cord to it. You stick that cord into the outlet and you stick the other side of the cord into the grounding pad itself. And that causes the grounding pad to be grounded. So when you're sleeping on it, it dissipates the electrical charge in your body and your mind that you build up sitting in front of computers and having cell phones to your ears.
Oh, I thought you meant it that you were you stuck something in your outlet to deal with the EMF in your house.
Oh,
I'm-
no. That was a little cone shape. It was a white little cone shape, and you just put it on top of the cord itself. You put it on top of the cord itself. We've had it for over 40 years now, and it still dissipates the electrical charge in the house. Yes.
Well, Dr. Hoppy, do you, for the sheet, for the mat, for the bed, do you put the sheet on top or you just sleep directly on
No,
top of the pad?
you sleep on top of the pad.
That's all the time. I mean, the rest of your
All
life.
in every only the days you want to be in your healthiest state. Only
Yeah.
those days.
I see.
Mhm.
I see. Thank you.
Is it a good idea to turn off your the routers in the house like overnight, maybe? Kind of help.
Well, that is one way of helping, but it is what is occurring during the daytime. That radiation is in the air. You've already released it. You're already in front of the computers. You're already being bombarded. So the radiation is already it's already radiating in your brain.
Mm.
So you have to dissipate that every day because otherwise you won't be able to go into deep sleep, and you can't heal unless you're in deep sleep.
Mm.
So now the pains you're starting to feel in your body is coming because you are bombarding yourself with radiation.
Mm.
That's part of it. The other part is coming from what you're eating.
Mm.
And the chlorophyll tablets, is that supposed to help also?
It's one of the things that help, but there are more things to help. And that's why when I do my retreat next year in the Caribbean, if you come there, you'll learn more. But I didn't even share with you all the brochure, did I? I didn't even share with you the flyer of that event. So I have to share that flyer with you all. Should I share that flyer with you all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that flyer. Was this a helpful seminar for you all?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
very much so. Thank
Dr.
you.
Harvey.
Yes, Kristen. Yes, Kristen. I can't hear you.
Awesome information. I put a thank you to you in the chat. Awesome presentation. Awesome information. Thank you for keeping our community healthy.
Well, if anybody can appreciate this, and you tell me you appreciate it, I feel overwhelmed with gratitude of hearing that, because I know you know a lot of stuff because you are a real scientist. I'm starting to find out. And I am trying to help us become healthier.
Thank you so
Now,
much.
That's what I want to do. So I need to become your protege because that's all I want to do. I don't want to be a medical Western doctor that doesn't heal anything.
Okay. Can everybody see this on the screen?
No.
Okay. Let me put this. Let me see if I can put this.
Hello?
Yes, I'm gonna see if I can put this on the screen.
That's okay, love.
Let's see. Can everybody see this now? Can everybody
Yes,
see this?
signal. So,
See
Yes.
this? Now, this event is going to happen from the 5th to the
yeah,
10th
I put
of
this on the work call.
September.
We're about to finish up.
Can we see this? Can we see the screen?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can check my calendar and see where I am, but I'll give you a call.
Paula needs to mute herself.
So I can mute her.
Okay, so this is going to be on the screen. These are the different practitioners going to be involved in it. Myself, do you all see me?
Yes.
I'm the first person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Nice picture.
Okay. Now that's 75 years old at you. That's 75 years old. Do I look like I'm 75?
No way, sir.
No.
With no pain and suffering.
Oh,
And
you
then
don't look
there's this.
75.
Well, I am. I'll be 76 next year. And I'll be teaching high frequency breath work so you all can start learning how to heal yourselves to the higher level. And and honor your higher self by learning the secrets to regenerate yourself so that you can feel and look like me at 75. Do I look vibrant?
Yes.
You're looking
Okay.
good.
Yes.
Okay. 75 years young. That's what 75 years young does for you.
Okay, where's the link? Do you have a link that we
Okay,
can?
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me see. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm gonna get you a link. Okay, now let me see. Let me see. Okay, now the link, I think
Details.
let me see.
Under details.
Details. Let's see if that shows up the link for you. Okay, all of this. Let's see if I can get you a link. Let's see. See, here's the link. See where it says high frequency healing 9@gmail.com. You see that? Can you see that? High frequency healing 9@gmail.com. Can everybody see that?
Dr. Happy,
Yes.
take that link in the browser and plop it in the chat.
Okay, let me try to do that now. I know you know I'm not computer literate, but we will see. I'm gonna do my best. We will see because I am learning. You all are giving me great challenge.
Great
Oh,
job.
no. If
Great.
you take that link that's in your browser and put it in the chat, we
Yeah,
can
I'm getting ready to put it in the chat. We're gonna see. Gonna see.
not the link that's inside. I'm talking about the
Oh,
link that's in that browser.
oh, in the browser. Okay.
And we
Okay,
can
thank you. Okay. I'm gonna go to here.
thank
Okay.
you.
All right. I'm gonna put that in there. Okay, let's see if what happens. Okay. All right. Well, I enjoyed sharing this information. Every time you ask me for a seminar, I want to give you the highest level of the seminar so that you all can get the information and benefit from the information. Now, is it in there? Do you
Yes.
have it?
Yes, sir. I see it. Thank you.
Okay, now if everybody connect with that, and then you have to send a little money at first to sign up to be part of it. It's only going to be about 25 people we're going to deal with at this retreat. Only 25 people. Is going to be worth its weight in gold because you're going to be exposed to some healings you've never been exposed to. Some healings are coming from the Mayan temples. Some healings going to be coming from myself, Asanta, and some of the other healers. Is going to be phenomenal. And it was going to be if you were going to take a vacation, this should be the vacation you're going to take next year. Now, are there any other questions?
No, I didn't. I just came back from Cancun.
I know you be
I'm a-
going, Doctor. You be going, Dr. Blessman. Everybody, you be going all over the place.
I had no idea the Mayans had some health techniques, but a lot of their stuff looked very, very, very similar to the Egyptian.
Yes. Well, that's where they got it from.
I thought so.
That's exactly where they got it from. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I hate to end the lecture. Time has now moved to the appointed hour. But I hope you all got enough where you feel this is like food and you're getting filled at the mental level. You're getting fed so that you can become even more profound in your understanding. So as a goddess, you have more knowledge to share with your families. Because I would pray not that or that one of your family members have a meltdown because the radiation got them, and and this radiation is affecting all of us.
Right.
So we must be the bearers of the knowledge to save our families until the community catch up. Because as Kristen said, the physicists, they know about this. These cell phone companies, they know about this. These computer companies know about this, and they're downplaying it. And that's why people can't have children, because their internal organs have become radiated from these devices, and they can't have children. And so we must be the ones that pass this knowledge on, protect the family.
Dr. Hoppy, what about the ones you said that's diabetic?
I was speaking in terms of they need the grounding pad because the circulation in their legs are poor. And so they're
Oh,
developing inflammation, they're developing poor circulation, they're developing gangrene because the
nice.
legs are poor in circulation because the electricity from these electrical discharges is causing poor circulation in their legs, poor circulation in their bodies.
Okay.
They must
Okay.
discharge, they call it dirty electricity.
Okay.
We must discharge because it's affecting us mentally where we're becoming short circuited. So when you become short circuited, you become irritated so quick under normal circumstances that you shouldn't even be getting irritated about.
Yeah.
That's what we see in road rage.
Yes. Yes.
That's what we see in burnouts when they do when they do these drive these going on these campuses and doing all this shooting and killing children and stuff. That's a burnout in the brain. So are we all now using computers now? Do they have computers in the school? Do they have cell phones? When the children are on the computers, they tell them you can't be on the cell phones when they're in school. But as soon as they come out, do they grab their phones and go back to texting and getting on Instagram and getting on Twitter and getting on Facebook? Are they deep into these cell phones?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So it is up to us to bring this to these parent councils. The parent councils are the ones that can reinforce this into the school. The parent councils are the ones that can bring the people like myself into the institution of the administration of the school systems to tell them they must start a charging by starting the grounding and by starting the children to learn mindful grounding, which is the meditation, so that instead of punishing these children when they're irritated and they're out of sort and they kick them out of school and cause their parents to come in school, we bring them into meditation sessions to help them ground themselves, get control of their breath and their behavior, and come out and be peaceful and calm and become the best students and decrease the havoc on our society.
Dr. Harpy, we need to start when they're in their mother's wombs.
Well, I do agree with you, Christy, but I'm talking about the ones that have already popped out. We have a lot of them that have already popped out.
Their parents are already toxic because they've already been exposed to the radiation. So you have got to start at the source.
I agree with you, but I'm speaking about the fact after we got out, we got to teach the parents, we got to teach everybody. It is a global phenomenon. It is not just here. But time is on the move. We do have to stop because the appointed hour is upon us.
I have one thing to add. They do have those pads for pregnant women's bellies.
Whoa.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. This is important to know. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But I enjoyed this evening.